Hi, I'm Mike Sullivan, State Conservationist for USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service in Arkansas. We help people help the land. We work with agricultural producers, urban and rural communities to provide them technical and financial assistance. And today we'd like to talk some about high tunnels that will help you extend your growing season for producing crops.
The high tunnel has really increased our level of productivity.
For our high tunnel experience, I'm very thankful that we have it. It gives us that early season crop for the florist and the end of year crop.
They're trying to help small farmers extend their season.
For the past 2 years that we've had this high tunnel, we have been able to keep eating fresh fruit all the way to the first of the year.
This land has always been farmed. We grew produce outside. Years ago, we grew produce just for a family. Now we're growing produce for multiple families and for other markets. I've had this high tunnel for 5 years. So within the high tunnel, we grow tomatoes, beets, cucumbers. We are also being very successful with mixed salad greens. Salad greens grow well in this environment, and people have gotten accustomed to something other than iceberg lettuce, and so they're willing to accept a variety of salad greens mixed together. That works well because most school districts have a salad bar. That's part of the requirements for the USDA Food and Nutrition Service. And so they need cherry tomatoes, they need slicing tomatoes, they need cucumbers, they need lettuces. Inside the high tunnel, we have far less problems with pests, insects that can attack plants. We have far fewer problems with weed control. We can control the watering a lot better also because we've put mulch in the soil, and it requires less water than if it were outside because the sun would dry it out faster. So it's been easier to grow produce. Produce grows larger in the high tunnel, and the growing season is extended much longer in the high tunnel. And part of that is just the protected environment. In the winter, about the only thing that we can grow outside successfully until we get a really killing frost would be the winter greens, collards, cabbage, turnips, mustard. But inside the high tunnel, we can grow spinach, and that's a high water content plant. Lettuce, all those things that have a high water content grow well in the high tunnel, even in the wintertime. We've really increased the amount of produce that we're able to grow exponentially. If you're selling produce, the sooner you can get produce on the market, or the longer you can have it on the market, the greater value it is, because it's not available from growers who are growing on the exterior in traditional gardens.
We just finished our 19th season as commercial flower growers. We sell probably a third to half of our crop wholesale to the floral industry, and then the remaining part of it we bring into farmers markets and other venues in Little Rock area. We also provide a lot of flowers right here at the farm to people who come out during the berry picking season. When we started out, we had just a few beds of flowers, mixed flowers, and now we raise over 60 varieties of flowers. It's really important to us to have this high tunnel because it gets us to market that much quicker. Instead of being there around the 1st of June to the middle of June, we can have flowers for Memorial Day and sometimes a week or two before that. This high tunnel is one of the most important advances to the small farm because you can extend your growing season, and that would give you income for 2 to 4 months quicker. Actually, there are farmers here in Little Rock area who raise a lot of greens and cold weather crops, or just tender perennials, tender crops, and they can protect those year round in the high tunnels.
Daddy started farming in '77, and he's the second generation, and I'm gonna be the third generation. Other than the tunnel house and our farm operation, we grow on the big scale. We grow squash, zucchini, yellow squash, zucchini, soybeans, wheat, corn, milo. We was interested in the high tunnel to expand our farm life, to expand the season, the longer to the season. As you can see here, we still have tomatoes, bell pepper, strawberries. One of our benefits on this high tunnel, as far as the growing span, is the heat. The high tunnel gonna generate all this heat in here, and we'll raise these sides up and raise the backs up so the air can flow through, and the heat will actually just keep moisture there. And then we have the underground drip system that we can water when the soil gets so dry. We can water on it, and then we use this drip system because we don't have runoff. It actually it waters straight to the plant roots. And we turn it on a little bit, the fruit get what it needs, we can turn it off, and it just works real good. It saves energy, it save water. After that season is over, Thanksgiving came up. We have greens, tomatoes, bell peppers. That's one of the biggest eating part of every family. During the two major holidays of the year, is Thanksgiving and Christmas, we got the produce for them. And we sell these locally.
My great-grandfather bought this place in 1901. It was where I always wanted to live, and I kept trying to get my parents to move out here. They wouldn't. I've been out here 38 years, and I had never had any interest in farming whatsoever. And you start looking at the land and thinking what you can do with it. And it started out with just a garden, and now it's kind of out of control. Historically, what got me into the high tunnel was strawberries. What really restricts plant growth is length of day, temperature and length of day. Well, there are a variety of strawberries that are day neutral. So you plant those around the 5th of September in a house like this, and in theory, about the 1st of March, you're going to get enough, you're going to start getting strawberries, and that's going to put you about 6 weeks ahead of the other outdoor strawberries here in Central Arkansas, and about a month ahead of South Arkansas strawberries. There's a lot of cut flowers, for example, that you can do in a high tunnel that are basically early spring flowers. Lilies come to mind, that you can do it in a high tunnel, and then you can have lilies by Mother's Day instead of in June, which is when I do them because mine are outside. So you're gonna be able to plant things earlier, like hopefully I'm going to be able to do with the heirloom tomatoes by putting them out in the middle part of March. And then I can come in and I can do things like this during the wintertime, where lettuce and spinach and such are very, those are good cold crops, but they can't take 20-degree weather. But I can shut these doors and generally be fine. And I want to really experiment with these great tomatoes in an environment where there's no there's no water on the leaves, and I can control everything in here.
Most of the cost is covered through the grant from NRCS. If you're a producer, you go to the NRCS office. There's one in each county, and you go in and fill out an application. Once it's approved, the farmer then orders a high tunnel, installs it, and once it's installed, then the NRCS office staff will come out and inspect it and make sure it's put up to standard. And after that's done, then you will get your reimbursement.
When we decided that we needed a high tunnel and to extend our growing season, we contacted the NRCS, and the agents there are so helpful and just real personable with you. They're interested in what you're doing on your farm and the different aspects of agriculture in Arkansas. And they just helped us out. The application process was fairly simple.
Once the poles and the corners and the levels are set, they came in here and we told them what to do, what we needed to do. All the material was here, and they figured their own way of doing it, and in a day they had it all formed. Then the next day they came and plastered it, and then they put the doors up. And so as far as once they got started, it didn't take long for them to put this hoop house up. Once it was set, once the foundation was set, it come right on up.
NRCS can recommend people who know what they're doing.
The USDA is great to work with for the small farmer. In fact, they're very focused on the small farm right now.
There are organizations around here that host meetings where they bring agents from USDA agencies to come out and talk to producers about the services that they can provide and the benefits that they can get from those agencies. And National Resource Conservation Service is one of those.
I encourage anyone to use a high tunnel if they want to grow produce. They can start their growth earlier part of the year in the spring when the ground level hadn't cooled or warmed up enough for them to go outside and plant. They can come here in the high tunnel and start their growth in the pottery or whatever. And then when the soil heats up, they can go out there and transplant.
This is the best way to grow it. We're going to grow it. I'd rather grow it in there than outside.
Thank you for the opportunity to provide information on the High Tunnel program. For additional assistance, please contact the NRCS staff at your local field service center.